All right. So, Rachel,
Yes.
we just met and we just had we're at 2 hours and 57 minutes. So I don't know if you've ever had an introductory conversation with somebody for 3 hours, but we've been talking about what Rachel wants to build as a marketer and as an entrepreneur. And as the people who are watching these videos, they know that I work with entrepreneurs. And you said you would like to give a little bit of a testimonial for the conversation that we had. So uh, take the mic. We both got the professional mics, and you
I
do a
know.
podcast and all that kind of stuff. So just and this is part of like coaching is by now looking back through the session and looking at the kind of the nuggets that you've pulled out of it, it's giving you sort of a double hit on those cognitions. And so, kind of my objective in having these conversations with people is to really create these cathartic things, not just a aha moment, but like digging deep into a person's psychology. So, um, like I say, we just met. Did I do a good job of sort of bringing out your what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like going into this conversation because you messaged me off of Nextdoor and everything, but I felt very like murky. Like I felt like I have a goal, I have a type of idea, and I just need to figure out how to execute it. And I think through these like 3 hours of conversation, it has really changed like how I'm not only thinking about like myself, but how I'm thinking about my business and how I strategically want to approach it and basically make it so that it's like a work smarter, not harder business model. But you didn't even say that throughout the like course today. But honestly, like I just feel like my entire mentality has like changed, and I'm feel like it uncomplicated so many things and made so much stuff clearer to me as an entrepreneur. But yeah, it was incredible. Amazing 3 hours. I learned more in those 3 hours than I have in like 3 months of doing my own market research. So
Working
I
in your little thing, figuring shit out, reading stuff. Well, you said you had a business coach too, so she's like going through stuff with you too.
oh yeah. So I think that she's like helping me build my bones, but like for my company, which is amazing. She's like, this is like you need niche clarification or niche clarification. You need pricing clarification. This is how you want to communicate. This is how you want to brand yourself.
See, that's
That
all the really practical stuff.
yeah, so she's teaching me that, and then it's like I didn't even think about the psychology and like the deeper, more personal stuff that goes into like my business model. And I feel like that's kind of more of like what you were clarifying for me. And obviously you know how to build the bones and do like the basic stuff, but that like going deeper and making me think of like, well, how about you approach it this way, or why you're putting too much intensity on this when you should be maybe leaning on this more. And yeah, that was great.
So if we were to call this coaching, this is
Mhm.
another one of these aspects we went over, like how I do pricing and all this other kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
um, I would call this not just a testimonial, but I call it a coaching insight journal, right? So we talked a little bit about journaling and the impact of that. And so rather than me telling you what to do, I want to make it so that you tell you what to do. And
Mhm.
so I had started doing these early on. And so first from the standpoint of um, you giving me a testimonial, which I appreciate, but also for you to lock in. You just gave us the context for the conversation. I want you to give me two more things: the decision that was made, which is a cutting off of the past way of doing it, and the way you're
Mhm.
going to now do it in the future because of the perspective shift. So
Yeah.
we get the context, then we get the decision, And then you got to give me the commitment, which is your willingness to suffer the consequences, live out the consequences of that cathartic moment. And so that's to hold you accountable. And the unique aspect of the way I do it, or I think it's unique, it's kind of my spin on things. I record this, and then I give you, I'll drop it into a Google Drive, and then you'll have this video of you saying what you discovered and what your commitment is. And then part of your morning ritual is the first thing you have to do is you have to watch this video where you say what your commitment is to yourself, and it's in your own words and your own voice. And so it just helps to create more value to doing this type of work, because it's not about the practical, because we have a quantitative side of the equation, the physical, having a spiritual existence, if you will. But then you have the qualitative, which is the opposite side of the spectrum, is you're an aware being having a physical experience. And so your words and your commitments and your decisions are some of the most impactful things that you can do in the game of living. And so having a conversation like this creates that unique opportunity to do those things. So I had to explain that because I laid it on Raechel to just start doing this. So we're doing this live. But so given what we were talking about, give me a decision and a commitment for how you're going to start doing things now and into the future.
So I think the decision to really trust in myself and that I am making the right decision. And like, I think what we talked about before was some people don't believe that they're worth what they are actually worth. So I think that was a huge turning point for me, because I was not charging what I am worth. And moving forward, like realizing that, having that confidence and pushing for that, I think is probably like where like that turning point was. And I think it'll also bring me to make the decision to do that every day, because I personally want to live up to that price that I am putting myself at. Like before you were like, oh, you want to choose a price that, is going to hurt if you don't show up, but enough to where like, it'll be affordable for you. And I want to make sure that like I am pricing myself to a point where I'll show up and make sure that I'm doing that for my clients.
Yeah, I remember that there was a point in the conversation where you were like, "Oh my God, like that's gonna make money." I saw that moment where you like shifted and you're like, "You just paid for the $15,000 coaching package right there." Like it's like that was worth a lot of money. So it was fun to watch you move from that. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know, right? And so like before that, there was the how much am I worth? What's your real value? Are you self-esteem type of thing. And then
Yeah.
after that, I just laid that out and I was like, this is what these guys are doing to get you to a 6 or 7 figure, blah, 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 right? And you're like, oh shit, I can do that.
I know it like
You were like, I can
I
do
was like, it's weird
that.
doing this over Zoom because I can see my reaction too. And I was like looking at you and I was like, and then you look at your own screen and you're like, oh my God, okay. Close your mouth, like you're good.
So
But
what's the commitment then?
I mean, I think I kind of touched on it a little bit, like just like being able to commit.
What do you have to do now? You know, like because if you don't, then you're in denial of self, right? Because you have the awareness now, which has
Mm,
shifted. And so that's rule number one, don't deny self, right?
right.
And so by having that awareness, now you have to look at how that affects the future, going into the future. And
Yeah.
so really what I'm asking for in the commitment is to stay the course of the new awareness.
So, I mean, I think like raising my prices, and even if someone gives me pushback, being like, no, like this is what it is. And also, um, you know,
They're just in the budget
all the
bucket.
work. I think, right. And I think that like putting in all of the work to establish yourself when you have found what does work, you don't want to throw away. Like I have put so much time and effort into into that, life-changing moment that happened an hour ago. that, that I don't want that to go to waste. So I think just committing to, changing my website the way it has to be changed, or marketing myself the way I have to be marketed, and yeah, changing my prices and going to job sites and really applying myself in the ways that I feel like they are needed in this market.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we both really, kind of by way of the conversation, could see that if you did that, that'd be a huge value, right? Like it's a great value for them. It's worthwhile, and it can make you a hell of a paycheck along the way, right? Just thinking about it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like, I know that like it's realizing that it's not, if you're just doing it for the money, then it's not, a lot is going to fall through the cracks, and like finding out your why is so important. But yeah, I mean, you always want your like money to work for you, right? So yeah, I think
Next
I've,
conversation.
right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think that, yeah, this class was amazing.
Awesome.